The Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3 after 50 plus miles and some Silverthorne training camp stuff. Is this the ultimate predecessor to the Vaporfly Next Percent 2? Let's break it down and talk about it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that, including Chicago Marathon training. So without further ado, let's begin. As per usual, specs right up here in the corner, and then we're going to showcase the outsoles of the shoes at 50 plus miles. So heads up, we've got some grass stains and some mud chilling at the heel of my left foot, which you will see right there, in addition to some other things that we're going to analyze at this time. And that's our right foot, also another one of curious proportions. So I guess we'll start us off in this case with our left foot, just because of the weird stuff. So I did wash the shoe just a little bit because there was quite a lot of mud and grass. I distinctly remember this from yesterday's run or workout when I was trying to dodge some bikes on the sidewalk. So I started running in grass that was like inclined, so I was running like this. And yeah, that kind of explains a little bit of the grass here on the heel and just the digging into the side of the lawn there. But that's neither here nor there. Point here is that the upper portion of the outsole seems to be in okay condition. I talked about this early on, that the amount of rubber that's protecting the foam for this shoe is quite thin. A lot thinner than I remember it being on any particular Nike racing shoe. We just have this thin strap that just goes all the way around up to the front here of the toe box. And our main area of concern again is in this mid to forefoot area, right up there where we just see a little bit of balding occurring on the tread. Not a big deal at this point in time. This is kind of expected. It's that if I see any more balding up to 200 miles in this area, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned. Nevertheless, the shoe is still riding okay based on just these characteristics on their own, but there's still a lot more we need to analyze and talk about in terms of what I've saw so far. And in this area, the entire front of the toe box has been pretty much balded out, and the side of the shoe is still kind of getting some impact areas, but nothing too bad or concerning at this point in time for the right foot. So anyways, let's talk about this shoe with the main question. How is it as the successor to the Vaporfly Next Percent 2? I'll give you kind of the summary of where I took this shoe with and kind of what I've thought about it at this point in time. I took it with me to the Silco training camp for about a month just to take it for my faster tempo threshold, even try max pace effort kind of things, just to see what would happen with the shoe. And I was thinking about using it for the Chicago Triathlon. And funny enough, I opted out of using it and choosing the Vaporfly Next Percent 2s about 3 days before race day. And I didn't bring the Vaporfly Next Percent 2s with me to Silco, which is also an interesting choice because I really wanted to experiment with this to see if this was going to be the shoe that I was going to choose at this point in time. And I'll say this right off the rip, there's pieces of this shoe that work really well, and then there's pieces that have got me, again, wanting to buy another pair of Vaporfly Next Percent 2s, okay? So overall with the fit of the shoe, the toe box area and the heel is okay. It's not anything special. It's nothing loose or anything of that nature. I like the tie down for the most part with the shoelace area. You can really kind of just isolate particular pieces with the jagged shoelaces as to what you want to lock down in the right spot. The piece that's not working for me that I think is causing some massive damage here in terms of my running efforts is in the toe box area. Something about it feels a little bit wider than I would like it to be, and as a result there is some kind of foot movement going on in this shoe that I'm not really liking. That's like piece number one. Number two, I think I've talked about this before with the way the shoe kind of strikes in this case, and I don't know if it's an emphasis from Nike to have a shoe that's going to be more midfoot to forefoot emphasized, I guess the word I'm looking for is. But what's happening is I'm consciously aware of the fact that the shoe is having a much more toe box style impact rather than having that a little bit of midfoot with that nice roll rebound that the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 had. And I don't know if that's just the direction Nike's choosing with this particular shoe model, if this is what we're going with, having a slightly wider, more wide-friendly shoe, I guess we can say. but more or less, like, we've lost some of the roundedness of the shoe, and we've kind of gone square with a lot of the architecture. As you can see, we're using corners, we're using diagonals and things like that. We're moving away from the Vaporfly Next Percent 2's roundedness shape and moving into this block head kind of shoe. And now we've got a couple of problems that I'm not really happy with and are going to be a problem when it comes to the Chicago Marathon, because I don't know if I want to run in this shoe for the Chicago Marathon. I don't even know if I want to get back in the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 in a size up right now. Like, I'm only most comfortable in the Vaporfly Next Percent 1, 2, and I would even say the Alphafly 1. So the older shoes are the ones that I'm feeling best in right now, and you would think that over time Nike would build a faster, more comfortable race shoe for your average runner, and as a result, something's happening here where the shoe is getting a little bit larger and it's getting more space, and it's not becoming as efficient and as streamlined as I remember it being in the past. And I don't know if that's just because the type of runner that's picking up these shoes is, you know, the customers requesting a wider shoe or something like that, or more toe box space, or they've analyzed something from like Hoka and they said, hey, Hoka's got this model with wider shoes and that's what we need to do. I don't know what's going on with it, but I don't like it nearly as much right now, just because, again, there's features of this shoe that are good and then some that have strayed away from the Vaporfly model that I enjoyed. And as a result, we have this kind of conundrum where I didn't run the Chicago Triathlon in this shoe, and I did both the Super Sprint and the Olympic distance in the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 that I used for the Cooper River Bridge run in April, of all places, and then a shoe that should have retired 6 months later, I'm still using now, to this shoe that's supposed to be its successor, and it's not a good successor. It is a good training shoe, I'll say that much, but it's not like something I would take on race day and be like comfortable with going 13.1 plus miles on. So that's kind of just some of the issues I'm having with the shoe. And then again, this toe box strike model with the shoe that I'm experiencing, it could be just my stride, which is very likely. I know I have this more supinated forefoot kind of strike with my style, and maybe that's just me and that's just the way I run, and the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 complements that perfectly. But in this shoe, it does feel like I have moments where I'm running flat. And that's not good, because I want a shoe that has the same springy responsiveness of the Vaporfly Next Percent 2 without having this flat striking poise that the Vaporfly Next Percent 3 is currently offering me. So those are just two of the major things I've noticed at 50 to 60, or I think it's like 70 plus miles now with this review. But again, damage-wise, nothing quite out of the ordinary, or nothing that I've expected as of right now. It's just the strike of the shoe just feels a little bit flatter than I would like it to be, and that's just not good if I want to race with this during the Chicago Marathon, because you want the best possible shoe, the shoe that you feel most comfortable racing with, not some like brand new shoe that's going flatter for you when in the instance of trying to break the sub 3 marathon, the last thing you want to think about is like what shoe you're picking on race day. You want it to come down to your skill. You want it to be more, you know, mental work. You don't want to have to think about the fact like, hey, why is this shoe not performing in the way I was hoping it would, or it was during training? Like, what's going on here? So these are just some of the things I've thought about as I've kind of gone 50 plus miles with this shoe, training at elevation, 9,000 feet elevation, and then bring it back down to sea level, and just kind of deciding on running in an older race shoe in my lineup. So if you agree or disagree with the assessment, let me know in the comments below. But I think I will leave the video here. You know, if you own the Vaporfly Next Percent 2, are you experiencing similar things with this toe box area feeling kind of flat? Do you have a really good time with this shoe and like it more than the Vaporfly Next Percent 2? Like, also let me know, because there's pieces of this shoe that are really cool and like work really well. There's pieces that are like super important in my opinion that are kind of causing this shoe not to feel nearly as fast as the Vaporfly Next Percent 1 or 2 at this point in time. So yeah, I'll leave the video here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.